In this video, I'm going to show you just what a great little radio this XHDATA D-109 is. At about $45 to $50, this is a real good radio for shortwave listening. I've done a review, I'll put a card up here. I'm just going to do a shortwave auto scan now. It is around sunset here. As you can see, the local time is 17:28. That means 15:28 UTC. And usually this time of day I manage to pick up quite a lot of signals. So let's see what this little radio can do. So for the auto scan on the XHDATA D-109, you need to press shortwave minus, and then it will scan all the bands and save the stations automatically. So let's do that. So as you can see, it picked up 119 stations. A couple of these are spurious signals I saw when it picked them up. They're around the 2,000, 3,000 kilohertz range. It often does that. That's one of the flaws of this radio, but many of the Chinese radios do that. Many of these DSP radios do that. So it's not a deal breaker. It happens. I'm going to scroll through the stations now. I'll identify some of them, but not all. I mean, there are just too many. But it's quite spectacular. 119 stations. So let's see. These are the spurious signals.
Kenya inaomboleza vifo vya
But this is VOA from Botswana, so not very far away. It's my neighboring country. So this is VOA in Burmese from the Philippines. I am in Johannesburg, South Africa, just as a reminder. China National Radio 5 from Beijing. This is also VOA from Botswana. China National Radio 1 from Nanning in China. Yeah, this is the BBC from Oman, but you can barely hear it. China National Radio from Beijing. China National Radio from Nanning. China National Radio from Beijing. There's going to be a lot of China National Radio here, so I'm not going to ID them all. This is PBS Jizang in Tibetan. China. China. This is Radio Taiwan and then China National Radio jamming them. So I think you're hearing the China National Radio jamming. PBS Jizang. This is also PBS Jizang in Uyghur. China National Radio in Hindi. Sounds the same. China. China. Once again, this one is Radio Taiwan International and China National Radio jamming them. You can hear there are two signals here, but I think the China National Radio one is the stronger one. Sound of Hope is on this frequency, and again China National Radio jamming them. China. China. Also China, but you cannot hear it. China. Again PBS Jizang, but you cannot hear it. Okay, this could be Iran or China. They both use this frequency. China. China.
I'm not sure if it was because he left or not. Maybe the company had some previous financial.
This is China National Radio or China Radio International in English.
Continued to do music, so he spent a lot of money trying to promote his music and continue his career.
Okay.
He on a reality show, he tried to do a Q&A on the street.
Comes from Hutubi in Xinjiang.
Which is kind of surprising to me.
This is VOA Radio Ashna. It comes from the Philippines. No, apologies. It comes from Thailand, Udon Thani in Thailand. It's in Dari. This is a poor signal, but it's Far East Broadcasting Corporation, which comes from the Philippines. This is Voice of America in Burmese, coming from Tinang in the Philippines. Again, it's the same signal, just a different frequency. This is China, but not strong. This one is actually Voice of Korea in English. I picked it up earlier on my Kenwood R1000, a bit stronger the signal. There will be another video about that. You can click on the card here if you want to listen to it. Interesting about this is this signal is beamed towards North America. And as I said earlier, I'm in Johannesburg, South Africa. So I think I'm picking this one up the long way around. On the Kenwood, it's audible. That card, if you click on it, you will see. On this one, you cannot actually hear it. There's nothing there. Also sounds like China. China. China in Bengali. This is KBS World Radio from South Korea. It is their English language broadcast. Again, Radio Taiwan on this frequency, China National Radio jamming them. China. 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 Also China, but nothing there. China. China. This one is Voice of the Islamic Republic of Iran. So this is Iran. That's Voice of Hope Africa. It comes from Lusaka in Zambia. China. This is Ibra Radio in Pashto. It comes from the UAE, based in Sweden. China. 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 Also China. China. All these Chinese signals is various different channels, one could say, of China National Radio. This is again Sound of Hope on this frequency, but being jammed by China National Radio. And this is Radio Free Asia, being jammed by the Chinese.
Wait, I'm getting it.
This This is China Radio International in English. Voice of Martyrs meant to be, but cannot hear it. China. China and Radio Free Asia, so the Chinese jamming it. China. This one is Voice of Vietnam. Not very clear, from Hanoi. This is Saudi Broadcasting Corporation, so Saudi Arabia. Comes from Jeddah in Saudi. PBS Xinjiang. China.
131. I think. Old Trafford, we should have won that. But yeah, we were the better team. And I love saying that because...
BBC in English, coming from Oman.
Yeah, I'll take that.
This is NHK from Japan, coming from Yamata. Republic of Yemen Radio from Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. Trans World Radio from Swaziland, Eswatini. Again, Radio Free Asia with the Chinese jamming it. Another VOA signal from Udontani. Cannot hear it. China Radio International. China. This is China Radio, China National Radio, jamming Radio Free Asia. China. China National Radio, jamming Radio Free Asia. China. China Radio International in English. This is Radio Liberty in Turkmen, so it's aimed at Turkmenistan. It's run by the US, so similar to Radio Free Asia. It comes from Udon Thani in Thailand. Radio Tamazuj, it is aimed at Sudan, run from the Netherlands. The signal comes from Madagascar, so not too far away from me. Another VOA signal from Botswana. It's interesting how this one is really, really weak, but the first one I picked up, 4930, was very, very strong. Adventist World Radio coming from Madagascar. This is Iran International Radio. It's a clandestine station aimed at Iran. It's run from the UK. The signal comes from Tashkent in Uzbekistan. Another VOA signal from Botswana. Meant to be Ibra Radio, but nothing here. Yeah, you could hear the station ID there, Radio Tamazuj. That's how they pronounced it. The one aimed at Sudan, coming from Madagascar. But interesting, this signal comes from Santa Maria di Galleria in Italy. So it's further away, it comes from the other side. They've been beaming these two signals, one from Italy and the one from Madagascar to Sudan. This is China Radio International again. This one is interesting. The transmitter is in Mali. So it's not in China itself, as most of their transmitters are. This one is right here in Africa.
Watu 52 wamepoteza maisha baada ya kugongwa na trela lililokosa mwelekeo magharibi mwa Kenya. Chama kikuu cha upinzani nchini Sierra Leone kimesema hakika.
This is Radio France International in Swahili, coming from Sudan in France.
Matokeo ya uchaguzi wa rais na
yeah, and that's it. We've gone through all of them. So a couple of signals you couldn't hear nicely, and there are these couple of spurious signals down here. But still, 118 signals picked up using only a clip-on wire of 3 meters. I threw it out of the window there. It is really quite spectacular. I think you can see this is a great little radio for shortwave DXing. And of course, if you just try to find some stations yourself, it's going to find it. It doesn't find everything with the auto scan. Let's just try to find one signal manually. There we go, that's the BBC from Ascension Island.